You're live.
Welcome to PNNKEXU Po People's Revolutionary Radio on 96.1 FM on the dial in Oakland and streaming live online at www.portmagazine.org/radio. This is your co-host, formerly houseless, youth poverty scholar, Jay, in studio with poets and formerly houseless poverty scholars, Tiny and Mutiaro Salicio.
Okay, bringing on that video.
Positive organization and move in the direction of having the old way come alive again, where rent is not a way of life, and mortgage and our land is not for sale.
This is important because it actually creates.
Sometimes the birds disappear so we can see our way out of here. Sometimes we get to touch the clouds. Sometimes Tonatiuh collides with Omayakan and the wind calms us down. Sometimes a coyote whispers, sometimes a story becomes a dream in the shape of a man. Hello, little sister. That's just an excerpt of a Lovuary that I did for our beautiful warrior brother, Uncle Broken Cloud, aka Billy Simpson. We just lost him to the other side. He joined the ancestors. Iba Baba on July 5th, 2025. We dedicate today's radio podcast to warrior, poverty scholar, Afro-Indigenous survivor as a houseless resident of Uchun on the streets for over 25 years. Someone who, like me and my mama, the system called service resistant, which really just means you didn't get down with their bucks and their non-profiteering and their lies about solutions when we poor people have our own. Uncle Broken Cloud found a home at Homefulness. And we walk with him every day. Stay tuned at the end of this show to hear more of Broken Cloud's powerful words.
The border terror continues. On stolen land, on today's show, we feature the resistance. First, we speak with comrades from Sacramento Valley, Tenants Union, who are creating community support networks like so many of our relatives in so-called LA. And then Manuel from East Bay Sanctuary on the struggle for indigenous people from the other side of the false borders, trying to be here within the settler laws, all that and more.
So you're just watching a little bit of the terror, the false border terror that our relatives from the other sides of these false settler borders are dealing with. This is from the broadcast earlier today in occupied Yalamu, aka so-called San Francisco, in front of the agents of terror known as ICE, so-called DHS, whatever, with their henchmen and their guns, making indigenous bodies illegal for the sole act of living. When I got already stolen land because of these false governments and because of the orange cracker king and the white cracker. We know that all. We also know that we, as poor and houseless people from all four corners of the earth, can fight back. We know that we fight back through radical interdependence, and we fight back through community, and that we fight all of the violence that happens on poor, black, and brown indigenous people's bodies and lives. So today we are dedicating this broadcast to talk about that violence. Many of our relatives who struggle with these false borders are in our community at Homefulness from Poor Magazine. Many also are in positions of homelessness, which is rarely talked about, and also are continually being treated. But we also know that people are feeling shout out to Ethnic Solidarity, shout out to Anthony Mondas, who just got a false arrest on Tujanga LA. Shout out to the LA Tenants Union and so many people down there who've been resisting. And to the warriors that we're watching right now, who are standing out and saying no and not letting this violence continue and including our bodies, our progress. We are so blessed to have warrior comrades from a movement that we honor and love, who also stands up for evicted relatives, for houseless relatives in occupied Maidu and Lucian territory, aka Sacramento. Sacramento Valley Tenants Union, who are now creating, working together with each other to create community networks. Welcome, family from Sacramento Valley Tenants Union. Come on in to Poor People's Radio again. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you so much for having us once again. I was thinking back to the first time you guys had us on. We spoke to you guys a little bit about the Palms Tenants Association and their struggle. And at this point in time, we're approaching 1 year of that fight with those tenants. So it's just incredible to watch how time flies. And also just thank you for sharing that video that you were just sharing. You know, every single day right now, we're living in a state of terror. And the cruelty, right, is the point.
Yeah.
And to watch that was, that's what we're seeing every day. But we're here as the Sacramento Valley Tenants Union to talk a little bit about our movement, what we're trying to do. We're an autonomous tenants union fighting for the human right to housing. Our goal is to build a mass base of tenants, not just in Sacramento, but we hope that people will join us from other cities and their own cities and build tenants unions, because we represent such a huge swath, right, of the population. And we get our rights trampled left and right. And a lot of the most, obviously some of the most vulnerable people in our communities are immigrants, and the fear is through the roof right now, and it's going to make our work a lot more difficult in the years to come. But we're ready for that challenge.
I just appreciate you all so much, and I want to always remind people that before we became houseless, we were in a home, right? And before we became houseless, we were evicted. Something like 92% of houseless people were evicted from substandard housing and didn't have rights. So the movements of tenants unions like these are an act of intense resistance and power. Can you guys tell us what's going on right now in terms of the creation of this community network that you're building? What is that about? What does that look like? For either of you that want to speak. Christina, maybe I don't know.
Sure. I can start a little bit, and Johanna, if you can back me up. For us, the plan has not really changed. I mean, we're cognizant and we're trying to meet the moment, right? We understand the crisis. We're very much in community and also in communication with a lot of our comrades in Los Angeles who are telling us to get prepared, right? But we can't lose sight of the plan, which is, to build a mass movement of tenants. And that starts with relationship building, with getting to know your neighbors. So we're going to continue to build tenants associations, to build local chapters, and to work at the neighborhood level. Because, without a base, you can't do the defense work, right? we're a fairly new organization, so we we like to be transparent about that. So that's what we're continuing with the plan of starting as many tenants associations as we can, door knocking as much as possible. We can talk a little bit about some of the challenges that we've had since the crisis has started, right, over a month ago. Johanna, you want to add a little bit to?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to highlight also that, like, as a tenants union, we define tenant as anybody who does not have control over their own living situation. And so that very much includes the unhoused residents of Sacramento, right? They are part of this community. They're part of the tenants union. And as part of, that strategy that Christina's talking about with base building, we borrow this phrase from the LA Tenants Union, but we're going, door by door, block by block, and just meeting folks where they're at. We're trying to go really deep in 2 neighborhoods right now in Sacramento. We're going, door to door in Del Paso Heights, which is a neighborhood that has a lot of folks who are sort of in between housing and being unhoused. There's a lot of sort of, housing with transitional housing programs, trying to, get people off the streets, but that have all sorts of issues, as you were pointing out, right? They have all sorts of conditions and on getting those services. And they also, people are living with some really bad conditions in some of the housing that we've seen there. We're also spending a lot of time in South Sacramento. Trying to start by getting to know our neighbors, getting to know who lives in these neighborhoods, what are the top issues for them, what are their priorities, so that we're not coming in and trying to set the agenda.
That's so beautiful. I guess my question specifically around that is, and just for folks who are listening, and we work with a lot of relatives in LA and so-called LA to Vanguard, because we're helping houseless relatives down there build a homefulness, which is what we have here. And, all invitations are out for that across Mama Earth. But that said, the logistics of building a network with other folks who are currently under attack, I'm just kind of curious about that. So, because I know your community is mixed, and a lot of our indigenous relatives from the other side of the false borders. So are you asking folks with so-called papers on this occupied land to be the ones who would, be frontline of a situation? How are you handling that? I'm just curious.
You want to take that one, Christina?
I'm trying to. So we're very much in we'll be transparent, in the beginning phases of figuring out what our approach is going to be. We have some of our folks have been teaming up with people from NorCal Resist who have a Migra Watch network, right? And have been active in those spaces and supporting those spaces. Right now, we're having a lot of kind of like internal conversations amongst ourselves, trying to figure out how we're going to meet the moment. In the buildings where we're currently organizing folks, we haven't had tenants like explicitly ask us for support with immigration, with immigration issues or what have you, but we are making it a part of our outreach. So when we're door knocking, we are, of course, we're handing out the Know Your Rights information. But again, I just kind of want to go back to how we haven't really, we're trying not to lose sight of our original mission, which is to build relationships with tenants, so that we're ready, so that we're ready to meet the moment when they do need that kind of support. So we're really focused on continuing to knock doors. We actually had a situation a couple of weeks ago, I think, where, right when the redadas and all of the ICE raids were starting, where we went out to a building that was predominantly, that we knew was predominantly Spanish speaking, and nobody was opening the doors during the door knocking. So it was one of those situations, again, where we're used to going door to door, right? So we need to think about what other forms of outreach can we practice whether it's connecting more with the churches, with the mosques, with other kinds of like community spaces that have the trust of folks.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of organizations are probably doing this, these internal checks, right?
Yeah.
We've heard of orgs that have tried to have Know Your Rights workshops for immigrants, and then nobody shows up, right? Because people are fucking. I mean, sorry, excuse my language. People are scared.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, we're doing the obvious stuff, right? Of like disseminating information, but I think the thing that we need to continue to focus on is relationship building with individual and collective groups of tenants, and then proceed from there in terms of what needs tenants have. Johanna, you want to add something?
Totally.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to add that, so we, as you probably know a little bit or may or not, but we have many different projects that are street-based right here in, Deep East Uchun, which is a poor people of color neighborhood, and it's many relatives here who are migrante, black and brown, indigenous, etc. And we serve, sometimes up to 500 families with our sliding scale cafe, our school, all the different things that we do. And we were very scared because a lot of our relatives who show up, right, are coming from the false side of, the other side of the false borders. So we came up with a protocol where we were going to do like they did, I think, in New Hampshire. I don't know if that's where it was, where they did the human chain and refused to let people through. But, we know that this Cracker Jack keeps changing the settler laws all the time. And so that's part of what we're inquiring too around in terms of protocol, and I love that you're saying that you're centering, what people feel they need first and foremost. I think that's the issue for our folks here. We're still poor, whether they have, ICE agents roaming the street or not. People still don't have access to food, to diapers, to produce, to organic bougie vegetables, so we have to keep providing because our babies are still hungry.
Mm-hmm.
So people are not in a position to just like, I'm not going to come, you know what I'm saying? Like they were scared at first, they didn't want to come out, but the hunger and the homelessness and the desperation is real too. So I'm just wondering about those protocols. I know you haven't dealt with them yet, but I just wanted to put that out there. And any thoughts you might have?
Yeah, I think, another thing that we do or that we found is that often we have to go and have meetings at a building, right? Like the Palms apartments that we had, that Christina had talked with you about, the last time we were here, right? We go every week and we meet them in their own courtyard. And that's a big piece of the tenants union's work too, is like claiming the space where people live. And I think that also starts to, address some of these issues of it can be scary to go to a meeting space where you don't know who's going to be waiting there, right? But if we're able to go and meet folks in their homes, that can help out with that. And we're also, I love hearing how you're, trying to meet people's various needs. And that's something that we absolutely hear when we're door knocking, right? Like sometimes we're like, hey, what housing problems do you have? And they're like, well, I got all these housing problems, but really my first problem is that I don't have enough for groceries right now and I need food for my family. And so we're trying to collaborate with some other, partners in the community about, can we do some fresh produce distribution? We've experimented with that a little bit. We try to always have food at our meetings, and just try to, meet people where they're at with what their priorities are, and seeing tenants as whole people.
Ashe. Well, I'm really excited to just hear that you guys are doing this. And I think really at the end of the day, that's all that we're going to be able to do is self-determination. They're cutting off our crumbs. They're doing all of these things. At the end of the day, who do we have but each other? I know you guys have a meeting coming up. Are there any last words that you'd like to say? And how do people find out more about supporting you and about following you?
Yeah, we have, we have a website, sackvalleytenants.com or .org.
Okay.
We have email, sackvalleytenants@gmail.com. We have a phone number, 916-572-4223. And then we're on all the social media platforms, except for TikTok. We're not there yet, but we're on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, Facebook, etc.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you, family, for being here and for the work that you do.
Yes.
Yes, thank
Christina,
you.
did you want to add anything?
Just we welcome anybody, please get in touch with us if you're a tenant in crisis in the Sacramento region. If you're if you're curious about tenant organizing, if you want to help us build a mass base of tenants, if you want to because the crisis is coming, we know those ice raids are coming, so we need as many folks as possible involved in the work. So we welcome anyone. So please get in touch with us.
Ashe. Thank you, family. We love you, Sac Valley Tenants Union.
Thank
Follow
you, guys.
them. All right.
Thank you.
Wow.
All right. Yeah, powerful work. And again, we have to recognize that as the Cracker King takes everything from us, what do we have? We have self-determination. So don't let that get you down, relatives. It's depressing, and we are going to be focusing on that in a couple weeks about different forms of self-determination as we look toward, this violence of stealing people's crumbs of Medi-Cal and food stamps. But right now, the position of our relatives from the other side of the false borders is dire, and we have to stand up, because as they steal the crumbs from the food stamps and the EBT and the Medi-Cal, where are they going to put them? In this fake lie called ICE. So there's that, right? I want to, at this point, transition. We have another guest tonight that we're blessed to have, a warrior on the front line of advocacy, and just trying to stand up for our relatives in so many ways, specifically in some of these so-called immigration courts that are now set up, that are themselves being used as a trap. Manuel from East Bay Sanctuary, thank you to come. Welcome to Poor People's Radio.
Thank you, Tiny, and thank you to Poor Magazine for inviting me to be here. It's my pleasure.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Yeah, and maybe you could tell us a little bit, Manuel, about what East Bay Sanctuary does and kind of the work that you do. Start with that.
Yes, I would like to make a little introduction of who EVSC is and how I started it. East Bay Sanctuary Covenant is a faith-based nonprofit that started back in 1982 due to the fleeing of people from Central America, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Nicaragua, who were leaving because of Civil War, part of the Cold War, and Bishop Romero was killed in El Salvador in 1982. And EVSC became as the full sanctuary city as a response of more than 60,000 Central Americans who were fleeing and coming here. And at that time, the government was accusing us, as always, as being criminals and sending us back where we were being persecuted and killed. And so that's how EVSC started it. And I think it's important to touch on the history of each organization in order to understand what we are doing in the present. So that's what we are, and so they advocated, they fought for us, they lawsuit the government because we were not allowed to apply for asylum, even though the United States was very involved in sending money and military aid and military support and training with La Escuela of Las Americas, the School of Las Americas, and Benning, Georgia. And so the civil war in El Salvador ended in 1992, and I believe in Guatemala 1996. And so EVSC started representing people in immigration courts back at the time for Central Americans. But after we won the lawsuit, people from all over the world were able to apply for asylum. Today, at this time, EVSC represents more than 12,000 people in immigration courts from different 70 countries. And So the representing people in courts, it's has been one of the biggest departments in our office. But now we have different programs. We converted our organization in more holistic. So we have a wraparound services, which they basically focus on providing social services, references, helping people to apply for medical, for food stamps, cash assistance, if people lost their job, if people don't get paid in their jobs, unemployment. So that's, like public services. But now we have other different teams that we are doing community outreach and education. We have Voces Mayas, which it's a group of 5-6 women from Guatemala who are indigenous Maya mom, and basically they're more focused on doing community outreach to Maya mom and Latinx. And also we have the community organizing program, which I am part of it. And we do community outreach, and also we do policy change. So at this stage, what we are doing right now, we are very focused on doing community outreach to educate the community. We provide workshops for the workplace, but as well to the community about know your rights in case people have an encounter with immigration. So as you were hearing from the other colleagues, people is very afraid now. And one of the most important thing right now is to tell people how to behave and how to react when they have an encounter with immigration. So, and people have rights, even what we are seeing now is intimidation and fear and persecution and abusing the rights of immigrants and refugees. So basically, we are doing community outreach in different levels. So we are going to schools, churches, organizations, distribution food programs to distribute the Know Your Rights red cards, but as well the yellow cards, which we call it the Rapid Response Network, which is ASILEP. ASILEP is the Rapid Response Network, which is in different counties. That includes Alameda, Contra Costa, Santa Clara, San Mateo, San Francisco, Napa, and Sonoma and Marin County. And each of them, they have a phone number where people can call to ask for help. Also, they can call to report ICE raid, and as well to find help for people who are low income. So this is basically for people who doesn't have resources. So as I said, we are doing Know Your Rights workshops in different places, and also we are training. We have a train of the trainers. We've been working with Amigos de la Peña, Friends of La Peña in Berkeley. We have been training more than 700 volunteers, and they are going, onto the streets. They are going on every weekend. They go to the different corners, different places, the markets, and they're distributing the yellow cars and the red cars. So they have distributed already more than 100,000 red cars, beside all the events that we are having. So basically, just let me read a little quick what are the rights that we have in case people have an encounter with immigration. And this is very important to people to practice it from now on. So if we have an encounter with immigration in the house, in the car, on the streets, we have the right to tell them that under the Constitution, Fourth Amendment, we have rights not to answer any question. We have the right not to respond to whatever questions they have. We have the right to have a lawyer. We have the right not to sign anything if we don't have a lawyer. We have the right not to allow them to search us in our, like in our bodies or our home or our house. We have the right to ask them if they bring a court order signed by the judge. If the document that they bring is doesn't say that is that it doesn't have the name of the judge and the date and signed by the judge, is not a legal document. If it comes from Homeland Security Department and is signed by a supervisor, people don't have to allow. It has to be clearly coming from the court, and only then people can ask, can respond to the questions, and only then they can allow ICE agents to go into their homes and to go into their cars. And in my understanding is that in this court warning, there is very specifically the people they're looking for, and that is very specifically the places where they can search. So this is very important. Thank you for playing out the red card. And from now on, we can tell people that they can practice. I don't allow you to research me. I don't allow you to. I have the right to remain silent. I have the right not to answer you any question. I have the right not to sign anything, and I have the right to have an attorney, and I have the right to go in front of a judge. I have the right to have a hearing. And this is the most important part of all, the basic no rights. This right to go in front of a judge, because the judge is the only person in the only power that can decide who should leave the country. ICE, they only execute, from my understanding, what the orders of the judge. Whatever other decisions they take is against the law.
Wow.
So that's what we are doing. And so also we are, we have this rapid response network, as I said, the rapid response hotline where, people can call. And at the Alameda County, I can give you the phone number, which is 510
Can you? Yeah.
241 4011. And this rapid response hotline is managed by Centro Legal de la Raza, but we are all connected, right? So we are asking to the Alameda County to put more funding into this, so that we can have the hotline operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Can you?
Because yes,
Can
go
you?
ahead.
I don't know if you happen to have. We're going to try to pull it up, but I don't know if you happen to have the one for San Francisco as well, just because we have a lot of listeners.
So let me show you. The yellow card. I don't know if you can see it. So this is it. And the San Francisco hotline is 415-200-1548.
Okay, thank you.
415-200-1548.
Great.
And then we have the San Jose, Contra Costa, if you also need it.
Okay. I mean, this is all extremely powerful, and thank you so much for your work, Manuel, and also all the warriors that are out there doing this rapid response work. And, we're here with those cards too, and we're passing them out to our community, and we're, figuring out protocol for, the possibility of these violent agents of the state coming on here. But I also wonder, what are you telling families and relatives who are wondering whether they should go to court, for their appointments? I know that's a really hard question, but I'm just curious about what your perspective on that is.
Well, actually, that's a very hard and difficult question. People have been respecting the law.
Yeah.
People who had who were detained when they were entering the country, or who were detained here inside the country, they have these appointments with ICE, or appointments with the judge.
Right.
And I know that the vast majority of people, they are themselves presenting themselves to their appointments, to their meetings. So they not been violating the law.
Uh-huh.
So, but with this now, about what they're doing, detaining people when they go to their meetings, or when they go to the courts, because there have been a few cases where the judge dismissed the cases, and immigration officials, ICE, took the law in their hands, deciding to detain these people because the judge dismissed the cases. And that's why a lot of people is pissed off. Mm-hmm. And when I'm talking about a lot of people is pissed off, I'm not talking about undocumented immigrants, as you can see on the news, on social media. the people who is demonstrating right now massively, and millions of people came out for No King and other vigils that have been going here in the Bay Area, but as well around California and as well around the United States. Millions of people are getting tired of all of this. And we are
Right.
talking about U.S. citizens, U.S. born, white people, brown, black, Asians, because we know that they are violating the laws.
Right.
And yeah, so what we can tell people, they should do what they need to do, to continue going to the court, but they should go with their attorney.
Right.
Because the attorney is going to fight for them. I think that we need to show right now that we are not the criminals. Because the mentality that our government has right now, and not only right now, but historically, is that people who cross the border are criminals. And for us, the way we see it as immigrants ourselves, that's not a crime.
Okay.
That is a right. That is a right. We have the right to immigrate. Right? We have the right to go and look for a better life. And especially when the forces or the causes that push us to leave is because the U.S. intervention. Right?
Exactly.
That we caused, for example, back in the 1980s. And people can search this online. There is a time that we are not stupid. We are not ignorant. If people want to be ignorant, it's fine. But we have choices right now with the internet.
Okay.
We can go online and just look U.S. intervention in Central America back in the 1980s. So look what happened with Venezuela when Trump was president. They tried to, coup Maduro. And what they achieved hundreds of thousands of people to live here to the United States, and they came in to look for refuge. And now they're here, because of the fight, the Biden administration gave them TPS. And now the administration right now in power, they discontinued, they terminated TPS. So there we are talking about 600,000 people. So I want to talk about this. So I want to talk a little bit about TPS, even though I'm not an expert on TPS. But there are TPS that were assigned in different dates due to different things that were happening in different countries. For example, El Salvador got one TPS back in 2001 because earthquake in 2001. On January 13th and February 13th, I think. And then we also got another TPS back in 1998 because of Hurricane Mitch, if you remember that, that destroyed part of Central America. And that was given to Nicaragua, Honduras, and El Salvador. And then we had TPS for Haiti, Haiti who had been devastated because of European and US policies. And they had that earthquake back in 2009, 2010, and destroyed the whole country. And we fought for Haitians to get TPS. And so they were assignated in different dates. So, and because Venezuela, as I was telling you, when the people were coming here, they got another TPS. I can't remember the exact date, but they have another TPS. Then we have Ukraine because of what is happening in Ukraine and Afghanistan. So TPS is very complex right now, but we know that because of all of the fight, at least these people can work and live, have access to their social security, driver license, work fine. This is not a legalization. It shows a right to be here. And so when Trump came on Trump 1.0, he's trying dismantling all these TPS programs. So we organize nationwide. There is a national, I think it's called the National TPS Coalition, who they organize a nationwide to lawsuit the government. And was the so the TPS was automatically extended by the court decisions rules, and that's how people have been able to automatically renew their TPS.
Right.
So when Obama came, I mean, when Joe Biden became president, we fought back and we pressure on them so that they will return the TPS. So when Biden was president, so the TPS came normally. And I just want to say, you know, that TPS, I was mentioned, there is people that is in TPS that they came here back from the 1990s, early 1990s. So there is people who came here, you know, in different periods of time. But there is people who have been living here in the United States for 20 years up, but they've been paying taxes. This is people who are really good people. They don't have crimes because the Homeland Security Department, every time that they're going to give them the TPS card, you know, immigration department investigates them. So they've been paying taxes. A lot of these people, you know, they own homes, they own businesses. They take care of the elderly. They take care of children. They work in the construction.
Right.
They work in you know, in the health industry. So they are everywhere.
Right.
But you know, so with this now, people is under a lot of pressure and under a lot of anxiety and stress because they don't know what is going to happen.
Well,
So
and
to them,
that's exactly
Yeah.
right. And Manuel, I just want to again thank you for your work. We're running out of time, but I wanted to say that I think what's so powerful, and I appreciate you in that you're connecting the dots because a lot of folks don't even understand the roots of things like TPS. They don't know that that came as a response to the violent colonial terror that was happening in those occupied lands, right? So I think that's beautiful. I appreciate that. I also just want to lift up for listeners and viewers of this revolutionary radio, because we're Poor People's Radio. I appreciate you listeners and viewers. There's also something called the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, UNDRIP, which of course AmeriClan refused to sign, and neither did Canada or so-called Australia. But it talks about the rights of Indigenous peoples traversing Mama Earth, and not the false borders. In other words, that these borders are not even recognized. That document was created by multi-nations of Indigenous elders who came together. And they often say, without the white lawyers and without the system, but just together to say, what are the rights of Indigenous peoples in pursuit of work, in pursuit of spirit, in pursuit of land, in pursuit of life. And so I really also think it's important for, you know, listeners and viewers, for us to ground ourselves in not only revolutionary consciousness, but also the roots and the history of these movements like TPS and like the sanctuary movement. And we appreciate you so much. One of our, you know, co-founders of Homefulness, Julio Chavez, went to East Bay Sanctuary and Ibai Baba, because we know homelessness kills. And he did so much beautiful work. One of his theater pieces was called Homeless on Both Sides of the False Borders. But, you know, he got support and help from the East Bay Sanctuary in terms of his work to try to be here in this stolen land with papers. And so many people do. Manuel, how do people support East Bay Sanctuary and how do they get more information about your work?
Well, yes. So, good question. So, our people can contact us. They can go into our website. It's www.eastbaysanctuary.org. Sanctuary is spelled S as in soul, A, N as in Norma, C as in Charles, T as in Thomas, U as in Union, A as in Apple, R as in Roman, and Y as in yellow. .org. So they can go into there and they will find out all our information. Also, they can call to 510-540-5296, extension 105.
Okay.
And
Beautiful.
people can donate. I didn't mention this, but when we started with 2-3 staff. Now we are over 45 staff members in our office.
Woo! Okay.
So
congratulations.
Yeah, we have a lot of needs, and so I didn't have the time to speak all about the different legal services that we do, but you know, Asylum is one, TPS, DACA, domestic violence. So we do citizenship applications, permanent residency applications, citizenship classes, unaccompanied minors. So we do a lot of immigration.
Oh, did Muteado or Jay, did you want to add anything before we sign off?
Yes, I did. You said y'all do cash assistance and Medi-Cal, right?
Yes, but I need, before people calling us,
Right.
we need to make sure that we will be able, that we have the capacity to help people, because we have, as I said, a lot of clients, and I just want to make sure that I don't know if we only help our clients, because as I said, we have like 12,000 people,
That
that we
is
are
a lot.
representing in court every year.
Understood.
So I don't know if we're gonna, I don't know if we have the capacity. But one of the things that I also do when I go to events, like tabling events with the information, we bring a lot of, the resources for immigration and other things that we can help. People can come and grab this information and call from their homes. But yes, they can call us. They can call us. If we cannot help, we're going to tell them and refer them somewhere else.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Yeah, and we hope, of course, that this, settler terrorist government doesn't take all the Medi-Cal away from us. So there's that too, right? It's yet another struggle.
Yeah, so I just want to point out something that you touched on about human rights, about the land. So I just want to tell you that probably a lot of people knows that in 1948, there was the Declaration on Human Rights Declaration by the United Nations after the Second World War. And the Human Rights Declaration, it has a lot of different human rights. And one of the rights that we have is the right to immigrate.
Mm-hmm.
We have the right to legalize and to look for citizenship. Okay, so and that has been protected by the United States. And I just want to point out that the United States historically has been making wars against other countries with this concept that this country violates human rights.
Right.
Okay. So now is the time to tell our government, show to the world that fighting and protecting human rights has to begin in our own home.
Oh.
And this is the time. But we are doing the opposite. We are doing the opposite.
Yeah. Thank you. No, Manuel, so much love and a gratitude for you and your work. We'd love to have you come back, and maybe you can also come to one of our events and table, because we really, so many of our relatives out here need that. So we'll be talking more for sure.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Yes. Just let us know ahead of time.
For sure. East Bay Sanctuary Comité, eastbaysanctuary.org. Support them. And we appreciate you, Manuel. Hasta pronto.
Manuel.
Talk to you
Thank
soon.
you very much. God bless you. Saludos, Muteado.
Of course, God bless you too. We appreciate you again.
God bless you.
All right. Again, you're listening to Poor People's Radio. That's PNN, not CNN, people. We appreciate you so much. I also want to shout out to Andrea Henson, a badass lawyer, a Boricua sister, who took that video that you saw that we showed earlier. Of course, some of the corporate media are not even covering migrante relatives right now. I don't know. Maybe that's not sexy anymore. We're just following this crackerjack settler terrorist and all his stupid news that he comes out with every day. And free Palestine and free Mama Earth. How about that? So again, remembering and lifting up all of our relatives from the other side of the false borders, right out here in occupied Uchun, remembering that so many of our relatives at Homefulness are from other parts of Mama Earth. And so we don't talk about false borders. We talk about Mama Earth. We talk about liberation, and we talk about unselling Mama Earth, because she is not for sale. Lastly, I just want to, before we close out tonight, we're going to hear Uncle Broken Cloud. Ibai Baba tonight is dedicated to him. We'll be doing an event on Sunday. Before we talk about the event, though, we want you all to listen to some of his sage wisdom as an Afro-Indigenous elder, as a houseless relative who survived the streets for over 25 years, and as a radio and a media producer right here in Poor People's Radio.
In the spirit of Nat Turner, I am speaking of Color Wars in 2025. In 2004, Rachel Corrie was ran over by Caterpillar. Later on, we had Shannon Marie Bigley in Fremont or in Castro Valley ran over by Caterpillar. Last month, we had James Edward Oakley killed in Vallejo. Earlier this month, in Atlanta, Georgia, on the anniversary of the murder and assassination of Tortuguite, we had Cornelius Taylor ran over by Caterpillar or a bulldozer. Let's look at this war on humanity and real estate today. Now, they're attacking Lake Merritt, a constructed real estate or parcel of land where they can't run over you by Caterpillar. But look at Gaza. How many people are still dying in Gaza and the dismantling and demolition of their land by Caterpillar? It is devastating how Caterpillar is being used as a weapon of destruction while calling it demolition and building constructive structures for capitalism is not really working for humanity itself.
Oh,
In the spirit of Nat Turner,
Ibai Baba, Uncle Broken Cloud, a powerful poverty scholar. I'm blessed that he took on my word capitalism. He was also an avid student of poverty scholarship and on every front line. So shout out to James Edward Oakley and Cornelius Taylor, Shannon Marie Bigley, which actually was Fresno off I-80. All houseless relatives like myself and Cloud for many years, but our bodies are not seen as human when we're on the street. We're seen as trash. And Uncle Broken Cloud took that work very seriously, continues to from the other side. We miss you every day. And I just want to lift up his work. You can listen to more of his segments on Poor People's Radio, also on Poor News Network on YouTube. But we will be having a beautiful prayer ceremony. Moot, if you could bring up the flyers, it's on there if you go further down. Yeah. We'll do a prayer ceremony on this Sunday at 3 p.m. at Homefulness. And we'll also be doing a bike ride for Broken Cloud because he was an avid bike rider, always on the move. And that'll be Sunday, July 27th at 10 a.m. Both of these events will happen at Homefulness, a homeless people's solution to homelessness that Uncle Broken Cloud was very happy to be a part of for the first time in many years. We know that Uncle Cloud actually had a home. That will all happen again this coming Sunday at 3 p.m., July 13th, at 8032 Black Arthur. That's MacArthur, as the settlers call it, in Deep East Uchun, East Oakland. There will be danza, First Nations prayer, and Ifa Oruba, offered by the beautiful Ifa song group Omnira. So we hope that you all come out. And if you don't, pray with us. In addition, there will be another powerful event happening. If you could bring up the other flyer, the Art of Homelessness. This is, I think bougie art people would call it a retrospective. For us, it's a historical journey through the visual and performance art of a poor and houseless indigenous peoples-led movement. Basically, Poor Magazine's, us ghetto scholars, been doing this for 29 years. Back in 1996, when it was just a dream that my mama and me had while we were on the street. And together with other houseless people, Joseph Bolden and Ken Moshesh and so many others, we launched the movement, the Poor People Movement, called Poor Magazine. And there's been art from the beginning because we're cultural workers, we're poets, we're visual artists, we're theater creators. And so we'll be offering prayer and performance and so much beauty at the Swim Gallery, 509 Ellis Street in Occupied Delamu. That's the Tenderloin District of San Francisco on Saturday, July 19th at 3 p.m. And we will be having a poster, original poster by Jazz Colibri of Uncle Broken Cloud. Jazz is an amazing artist and works with Poor Magazine, but also with Wood Street Commons, our families at Wood Street Commons. And they're going to be doing an original piece of art for Uncle Broken Cloud, and that will be available. There'll be posters available at the art show on July 19th. So we hope you show up and show out for both of those again this Sunday, July 13th at 3 p.m. at Homefulness. For more information, you can look on our Instascam or Facecrack, or you can just go to poormagazine.org.
Before I close this out, I just wanted to say, we love you, Uncle Cloud. We love you, Uncle Broken Cloud. Man, it's just hard without you here. It's not the same. It's not the same anymore, but we still fighting. And we know you're still here with us spiritually.
Ashe.
And we love you again.
Oh.
Poor People's Radio won't be on the air next Tuesday, the 15th, but we will be back the following week. So that's all for this broadcast of Poor People's Radio. You can follow us on Facebook, X, or Instagram at Poor Magazine, at Poverty Scholar, and Poor News Network on YouTube. You can also get this complete Poor People's Radio podcast with all the interviews and conversations or any of our previous archive shows on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, or wherever you get your podcasts. All power to the people.
All power
to the people.
We love you, family. Thanks for tuning in. So much love. So much love. Oh my.